In this video, we're going to take a look at setting up our second Exchange server in our test lab environment so that we can begin exploring high availability configurations. Here's my Hyper-V manager. As you can see, I've got a second Bootcamp Exchange server that's been installed. It's already up and running. Now you can deploy another virtual machine in your Hyper-V instance as well, just following the same steps as when you deployed your first Exchange server. So you can create a differencing disk based off that base Windows Server 2012 image. And I'll also just open up the settings here and note that I've already added the extra hard drives for the data and log volumes, which I'll also show you on the server itself. I've given the server the same amount of CPU and memory as my other Exchange server. Now to squeeze all this in, I've actually had to modify the memory settings on my domain controller by enabling dynamic memory and setting a minimum amount of memory of 512 megabytes, a maximum of 2 gigabytes, and a startup RAM of 1 gigabyte. And also on my Bootcamp PC, which is not actually running at the moment, I've also enabled dynamic memory there and set similar numbers. And basically with those configurations in place, I'm able to start all 4 virtual machines for my test lab environment and run them all at once on this system that has 16 gigabytes of memory in total. So here we're logged on to the second Exchange server that will be deployed. I just want to show you what I've done so far. Really all I've done is set the server up with a different name, join it to the domain of course, has a different IP address than the other Exchange server of course. I've already run the PowerShell commands to install the prerequisite Windows features and roles, and I've already installed the UCMA runtime and the filter packs. So really all that's required at this stage is to install Exchange Server 2013 itself. And this time I'm going to do it using the command line setup. And it is recommended that you run as administrator when you're launching the command prompt. So we'll just navigate to the folder where those source files are located. The command we need to run is setup.exe. We're using the mode of install, installing the roles, and we can actually use an abbreviated switch there of just /r. You want to install the client access and Mailbox server roles. And we also need to accept the Exchange server license terms with that big long parameter there. And that's basically it. That's the minimum required to install an additional Exchange server into an existing organization. Setup mode of install, specify the roles, and accept the license terms. So we don't need to do any Active Directory preparation because that's already been done when we installed the first server. We don't need to specify a name for the Exchange organization because that's already been provided when we prepared Active Directory and installed the first server. So we can just hit enter and let unattended setup run. And again, the amount of time that this takes will vary depending on how powerful your virtual servers are. So when that command line setup has reached the end, of course, you're going to have to reboot the server before you do anything else.